Hi guys, Kemi Badenoch is some piece of work. So she wants the public and voters in particular to basically forget about the last 14 years of Tory rule. Now in this interview with Laura Kuenssberg, she said that she wants to draw a line over what happened when the Conservatives were in power. The new Tory leader was asked about telling the truth and being honest about Boris Johnson. Well, she claimed that he was a great leader, but the icing on the cake was that she claimed that PartyGate was something that was overblown. Then she engaged in some revisionism of lockdown rules. Disgraceful stuff. Have a listen.
So when you are telling the truth, what's the truth about what went wrong with Boris Johnson? Was it honesty?
Well, you will remember that I resigned during the Boris Johnson government. I thought he was a great Prime Minister, but there were some serious issues which were not being resolved. And I think that during that tenure, the public thought that we were no longer speaking for them or looking out for them. We were in it for ourselves. Some of those things I think were perception issues. A lot of the stuff that happened around PartyGate was not why I resigned. I thought that it was overblown. We should not have created fixed penalty notices.
PartyGate was not about fixed penalty notices, you charlatan. PartyGate was about Boris Johnson standing in front of a lectern every evening telling people to follow the rules, saying you're not supposed to engage in activities together, you're not supposed to meet, you're not supposed to do X, Y, and Z. And then Boris Johnson ignored those rules and had parties at Downing Street, in the garden, in the building, while he was telling people that they could not spend time with their loved ones at the end of their lives. Then what he did was he lied about it. Now, I can't remember all the lying, but it seemed he lied that there were parties, then he lied that he attended the parties, then he lied that he knew that there were parties, then he lied in Parliament, he lied in the media, he lied one after the other. And then when he was eventually found out, he was forced to resign. So this impacted the Conservative Party. It undermined trust. But people were really upset about this, and rightly so. They followed the rules that Boris Johnson laid down. But Boris Johnson did not follow those rules, and people around Boris Johnson did not follow those rules. It was rubbing people's noses in it when they heard that there were people rushing down to the supermarket with suitcases, empty suitcases, and filling them up with booze so the people in number 10 could have a shindig, while they were not able to spend time with loved ones at the end of their lives, for example. Or people who could not spend time with family. People who were having Zoom calls with others in hospital because they were respecting the rules. People were not attending funerals because they were following the rules that were set down by Boris Johnson, who then lied about breaking those rules. And all the other stuff as well. Disgraceful. Overblown.
For example, that was us not going with our principles. And then when we had the issue with the Chris Pincher...
She's upset about, not about Boris Johnson lying, about so many people dying. She's upset that there were rules brought in under lockdown that she disagrees with. We shouldn't have been punishing people with these fixed penalty notices. That's what she's upset about. Not that her party and her government lied to the public and doubled down on those lies. No, she's not concerned about that. It's, well, we shouldn't have had these fixed penalty notices.
Scandal. When ministers were sent out to say things that were not true, that was when I decided that things had gone too far.
So it was partly for you about the truth. Were the public wrong to be upset about PartyGate? You say it was overblown.
No, they were not wrong to be upset about PartyGate. The problem was that we should not have criminalised everyday activities the way that we did.
She's trying to draw a line under PartyGate. She's trying to engage in some revisionism when it comes to PartyGate, saying, well, PartyGate was about the rules. No, PartyGate was about Boris Johnson and your frigging government lying to the public, telling them to follow rules that they were not willing to follow themselves.
People going out for walks, all of them having fixed penalty notices. That was what ended up, creating a trap for Boris Johnson.
But wasn't the problem that people who...
A trap. A trap for Boris Johnson. Sorry, who created this trap? Was Boris Johnson forced to remain Prime Minister? Was he forced to go out in front of the public and say, you need to follow the rules? Who forced him? Who created this trap for Boris Johnson? What an absolute charlatan this person is.
in government didn't obey the rules.
Yes, that's right. People in government didn't obey the rules, but they were not MPs. They were often staffers, and I think that the way that we...
Boris frigging Johnson was the Prime Minister. My goodness, there were other MPs as well, but Boris Johnson at the very top of government, not following the rules, breaking the law.
Had created those regulations, ended up entrapping...
The Prime Minister and the Chancellor both got fines. It wasn't just people who worked for them.
Indeed, but as we saw with those events, when people see the full story of what actually happened, they understand that things were created, problems were created because of the way that we had created the regulations. But if I...
Once again, what an absolute charlatan this individual is. The problem was the rules, not that Boris Johnson broke the rules, not that Boris Johnson lied about breaking the rules, on numerous occasions, including Parliament. See, what she's trying to do here is she's trying to trick the public into thinking that the problem was the rules, not that Boris Johnson actually broke the rules. The problem was that we created these very strict regulations. The problem was the regulations, not that we were lying charlatans that were completely indifferent to the suffering of ordinary people.
If I may, one of the things that's very important is that we draw a line under all that happened over the last 14 years. We've lost an election, a historic defeat, and simply churning over every single incident, I don't think is going to be helpful for dealing with where we are today.
She wants the victims to forget. That's what she wants. She wants people who punished the Conservative Party, and rightly so at the recent election, to forget. You lost loved ones. You were not able to be close to them. We want you to forget about that. We want to forget that we were having parties while you were following the rules. We want you to forget that the Prime Minister lied about this. We want you to forget, and this is not just about PartyGate, this is also about Liz Truss and our mini budget. We want you to forget the last 14 years of corruption, of indifference to ordinary people, of running public services into the ground, of punishing sanctions on the most vulnerable in society. We want you to forget about all of that and re-elect us in the future because we have a new leader. That's what she's trying to sell here. Draw a line over the last 14 years. Forget about the past and move on. Because we as a party can't look back. We have to look forward. Well, I hope the public remember this at the next election. They remember interviews like this, where she said that the PartyGate scandal was overblown, that it was more a focus on technicalities like the cost of fixed penalty notices or the fact that there were fixed penalty notices, and not that the Prime Minister himself told people to follow rules that he was not willing to follow himself and then lied about it in the media, lied about it in Parliament, lied about it every time he was interviewed. That's what people need to remember. And people need to remember that when they go to the polling station at the next election. These charlatans have not changed. They're going to lie to you once again because some people, they think, will forget. Let me know in the comment section, guys, what you think. As always, your comments are greatly appreciated. Thanks a lot.